Good morning, Whitley Radio. This is Jack. What can I do for you?
This is Cactus Jack.
This is Cactus Jack. You must be Heath.
I am. Heath Wright from Ricochet.
We just cranked up your song, Daddy's Money, which was your big #1 record back in 96. Is that when that was?
That's right, 96. Good memory, brother.
I remember singing that on a loading dock with my coworkers. I've worked radio for 40-some years, but I have not always done it full time. And I was working radio on the weekends in those days. And that one would get us moving when we were running behind. We'd sing Daddy's Money, and everybody'd pick up the tempo. It was an awesome morning pick-me-up.
Well, I'm glad I could be of help, man. That's awesome. I've been right there with you. I've taken day jobs as well, and just to keep the bills paid.
Well, you had some monster success back in the 90s. How did that all come about?
A lot of people would say blind luck, honestly. Yeah.
I would say there was some talent involved in there. I've heard your performances.
I was just about to say Brad Paisley says there ain't no such thing as luck. It says luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly.
And we were, I tried to make sure that we were always prepared for whatever the next step in our career was. We even when we were just a cover band working nightclubs, working the nightclub circuit for anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week at one place, we would gather up either in a hotel room or a band house or something during the day, and we would work on our harmonies and make sure that everything was blending nice and that everybody was singing the right part. And we might work up a brand new song during we'd go down to the club during the day and practice it and then play and try it out that night for an audience. So we used to believe that most people work an 8-hour day. And if we're on stage 4 hours a night, doing nightclub dance sets, then we still got those other 4 hours that we need to put in as well. We got 4 hours of rehearsing and practicing and making sure our harmonies sound good. And so that's just kind of how we looked at it. We looked at it, everybody else works an 8-hour day. Why not us?
And that does not include all the heavy lifting of all that setup and the sound check and the lights. It's a lot of work.
Well, that's true, but you only had to do that on the first day. Like if we would have a sit down when we were playing in Columbia, Missouri, quite a bit. We would roll in on a Tuesday. We would unload and set up all the gear and get a good sound check, and then we didn't have to break it down until Saturday night. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we had stuff. We had off time during the day, so we would try to just hone our skills and get better. And I was always impressed with my original bandmates back in those days. They were very, very good about gathering up together and rehearsing and practicing and making sure that everything sounded as good as it could be,
I dabble in singing as a karaoke singer, and I play a little bit of guitar and so on and so forth. But I'm 70 years old. I'm old enough I should quit. And I'm almost 70. But anyway.
Don't quit, man. You can keep doing that until you're dead.
That's what I'm hoping for.
That's what I used to tell my music students. I would teach for a while, and I would say, I don't have anything against sports, and I know that you've got football practice this week, and you got, cheerleading or whatever, and they would say, well, I couldn't practice this week because I had football or cheerleading or whatever. And I said, but how many 70-year-old football players do you know?
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, you can keep doing this right up until the day you die. As long as your hands don't get arthritic and as long as your voice doesn't give out on you, you can do this as long as you want to.
It's funny. I think my voice is in better shape now than it's ever been. But where I was going with that was one of my absolute favorite songs to sing of all time is Seven Bridges Road. And I know of 2 versions of that, and I like yours better. That's actually the version that I try to sing. I can sing 3 of the parts in there myself, so if I've got the right people singing with me, we can make it sound really good a cappella. But it's a trick. That's a beautiful piece of literature, but if it's not done correctly, it sounds like bad.
Well, you're right. I'm assuming you're talking about the Eagles for the other version. I appreciate that. We pretty much just ripped off the Eagles arrangement of it. We do it almost exactly like them. We've added a little bit different instrumentation because they just had acoustic guitars. Their version was a live recording. And the story behind that, from what I understand, is that when their record label wanted them to go in to do a couple of new songs for the Greatest Hits album, that they hated each other so much back then that they refused to go into the studio and record anything new, so the label ended up having to use a live recording to get something new on the album for the fans that already had all the others.
How times have changed.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I don't know if they like each other any better nowadays or not, but if they're just tolerating each other. I've heard stories about that Eagles tour, and I can share with you someday when we're off air. But I still love singing that song every night on stage, and the guys, they're one of the things that I'm really pleased about, even with my new crew, because I'm not going to lie to you, I'm the only original band member left of Ricochet. But every time I've replaced a band member, I've always been lucky enough to find someone who not only could play an instrument, at least one instrument, and play it well, but I've also found band members who also could sing a part and sing it well. So I'm lucky in that regard. I'm lucky to still have a very good vocal band, and I'm, no fault of my own, but it just sort of happened that way. It just sort of happened that I've managed to keep really good musicians behind me all through the years.
Well, with the magic of the version that we all hear recorded, the one we play here, was that as magical as it sounds, or was that 5,000 tries, or how good was that?
Well, we try to get everything within the first couple of takes, because you can kind of tell when you're starting to get tired of singing something. And the way my producers used to do me in the studio, they would have me come in and sing a song from start to finish. We wouldn't do it in pieces. Like a lot of people, okay, just give me the first line. Just give me the first line, and we'll get that one perfect. Then we'll go to the second line. We wouldn't do it. We would have me sing it from start to finish, and I would do that on 5 separate tracks. And then they would go in and they would listen to the first line on each of those tracks and figure out which of those 5 first lines is the best. And then they would fly that line over to another track, and they call that the comp track, or the compiled vocal. So, after you've got a comp vocal built from listening to all 5, the next line of all 5 tracks, then I would listen to the comp vocal, and I would think to myself, after living with the song for a couple of weeks, I would be like, well, I think I can sing it better than that now. So
exactly.
Sometimes they'd let me go into the studio and sing it better. So I don't know how much of my vocal was all one take. I used to hear stories about how Joe Diffie would go in the studio and do it in the first take, and his producers would just be like, well, Joe, I didn't hear anything wrong with that. Let's just keep that one. I don't know if they ever did that with me or not, but I was always happy with the way the producers ended up getting a good vocal on me and great harmonies to surround me.
I actually have a friend named Eric Horner who is now an evangelist who played with Lee Greenwood for many years, and he was a studio musician before that in Nashville. And he has told me the same thing about the late Joe Diffie. Boy, I miss Joe, but he's told me the same thing about Joe, that he would go in and sit down and do his job, and nobody had anything to say. They just said, have a nice day.
Yeah. Oh, man, I think Joe had the most pure country voice of our time. He and Daryl Singletary, just 2 of the greatest voices in country music in my time, anyway. There would be people that will argue, well, what about Merle Haggard and what about Marty Robbins? And yes, those were great singers as well. But of my generation of country music listeners, I always loved Joe Diffie and Daryl Singletary, 2 of my favorites.
Well, when you were talking about Merle and the others, those guys, Marty Robbins, they are a brand unto themselves. Nobody ever mistakes them for someone else when they sing. And that was kind of the same thing with Joe Diffie. And Joe had a body of work of his own, but what the story I was thinking about when I told you about Eric Horner was that he said he went in the studio and saw Joe cut the version of If I Had Any Pride Left at All, the one that later became a hit for John Barry. And he said he never heard anybody do that song that well, and he laid it down in one take. It's the cut that I play, and the one that I try to sing if I ever try to sing it in karaoke, although it's way high for me.
Oh, yeah. Well, Joe had that kind of range. He could get those low notes, and they were so thick and rich and beautiful. It wasn't like he was struggling to sing the low notes. And then he could go up and sing at the top of his range, and his high range sounded just as good as his low range. It was just amazing how good he was. And I should mention he's from Oklahoma. Yes,
like trying to hit the high note on ships that don't come in. I hit that one right about 1 try out of 20, but boy, that's such a great song. But we're getting way off. We're getting way off the reservation here. I want to hear about Ricochet and what you're doing now. Daddy's Money was 25 years ago. So what's happening now?
Well, we have a brand new album that we actually just released last Friday, August 18th. It was the drop date on this album, and it's called Ricochet, The Hits and More, Then and Now. And it's a 16-song project. I'm real proud of this thing. We went in and gave 6 of the old hits kind of a technological facelift. We re-recorded the old hits. And I don't know about you, but I'm first, a fan of country music, and second, I'm a country music artist. When I go to a show, I like to hear the songs the way I'm used to hearing them. There's some artists out there that probably get tired of singing their hits over and over and over, years and years and years down the road, and they've changed them to the point that sometimes they're almost unrecognizable. We chose not to do that. We chose to go back and give these songs close listen. We put them under the microscope, and we wanted to make sure that the arrangements were exactly the same as the original recordings. So if you were to listen to the original recording of Daddy's Money and then compare it to the new recording, the only difference you would hear would be a technological difference. The new recording sounds cleaner, HD, if you will. You know, there's been a lot of technological advances in recording since the 90s. So those 6 songs have all gotten a little, technological facelift, and we've decided to release those. But we also realized that it had been 10 years since our fans have heard anything new from us. So we decided to go in and cut 10 brand new songs. So you're getting a whole brand new album of new music from Ricochet, plus 6 of the old hits re-recorded.
Sounds like I'm about to go home and hit Spotify. That's what I'm going to do.
Hey, let me make a suggestion to you. Spotify and iTunes and all these digital downloads are fun, and you can store them on your phone. But if you're like me, you like to kind of read liner notes and stuff. So I like to own a physical product.
Me too. I just had this conversation last week with another entertainer, with Wilson Fairchild, actually, Will Reed of Wilson Fairchild, and that's what we both said. So take it away.
Then you're going to love this. Let me tell you something. You're going to love this because we're not only releasing it on CD, and here's how I want you to go get your CD. We don't even have a link on our website where you can purchase the CD, because what we want you to do is we want you to go to a website called adoptacop.com. We have partnered with an organization called the Wounded Blue, and it's an organization out of Las Vegas, Nevada, that helps our law enforcement officers who have been wounded in the line of duty, and as well as their families. They provide all sorts of support, whether it be financial support or emotional or psychological support, whatever they need. And I was having dinner with Randy Sutton, the founder of this organization, just last week in Nashville, and he was telling me about some of the officers that they help, like they help purchase prosthetic limbs or wheelchairs, or they help turn their homes into smart homes that are more handicap accessible if they've been injured to the point of needing those services. So it's a wonderful organization. Last year alone, over 120,000 officers were intentionally shot. I've said it before, and I'll say it 100 more times. The 3 dumbest words ever spoken in this country are defund the police.
Amen.
I hate that movement. You got to be a special kind of stupid if you think that is a good idea.
Preach,
so
brother.
I'm just saying, if you want to counter that movement, go to adoptacop.com. Click on the link about Ricochet. Donate at least $20, and we'll send you one of our CDs.
That will be happening in my household and probably a lot of other places. I have run you out of time. We've got a minute and a half left here. I do have a quick question for you, though. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Country Conversations with Cactus Jack, and I convert a lot of these interviews into YouTube videos, and I need to use your artwork from your Facebook page, from your website. I need your permission to do that, if that's okay. And we will also do the stuff from Adopt a Cop as well.
That's what I was about to say. Please mention Adopt a Cop on that YouTube channel as well.
We will put links to everything, and if I can figure out how to do it, I'm not great with websites, but if I can get it on the website, I'll put a link on our website and on my personal Facebook page. But we had 15 minutes, and you are just such a great interview. We've got about 45 seconds here. What would you like to say to wrap this thing up?
Well, I just want to thank all of your listeners there in Kentucky for supporting us these last 30 years. We're celebrating 30 years of Ricochet music now, and y'all have made my dreams come true. I can't thank you enough.
God bless you. God bless your efforts for the police and for all the causes you have pursued. Thank you. We look forward to seeing you coming to our town, and I'm going to look for you wherever you are. Is your tour scheduled? Where is it? Where can we find that?
Yes, sir. Our tour schedule can be found on our website, ricochetonline.com. That's RICOCHET online.com. And there's 2 Kentucky dates that I know of here in the next couple of months coming up. So you guys take a look at that and see which one's closest. Yeah, come to both of them if you want to. Why not?
Right quick, we get into 5 states here. We get into West Kentucky, West Tennessee, Southern Illinois, Southeast Missouri, Southwest Indiana, And we get into Arkansas a little bit here. So if there's any
Yeah.
any dates in there, anybody listen, look up at Ricochet at your website, and we'll have links. If you're on the YouTube channel, we'll have links to all that on the description. Heath Wright, thank you so much. I have really had a great time talking to you. I've learned a lot about Ricochet, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you soon.
Cactus Jack, I appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
God bless you. Thank you, sir.